Good whenever you are listening to this.
That's a new one.
Right, good whenever.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not good morning, good afternoon, good whenever.
Yeah,
I like it.
let's I'll trademark it.
Yes, I think we should.
I think we should
Yep.
make some money.
Yep.
To go into the podcast to promote it.
That's right.
How's everyone doing? I hope you guys are just having a fantastic week. I mean, I'm in a great mood. It's not as windy.
That's right. Allergies are down.
Thunder has the second longest playoff streak in franchise history right now.
Right. They're 5-0.
5-0. So
Nice.
moving on, hopefully 6-0 tonight, but I'm not going to get too ahead of myself.
Okay.
So I can't help but be happy. Things are going good.
Yep.
Senior season's right here. The summer will be upon us, and then I will probably won't be on this podcast until August, but all is well.
That's
all
right.
is well.
Yep. All is well. So, hey, thanks for joining with us on another episode of What About Jesus with Gene and Grady. If you don't know right now, I'm Gene, and that one's
Grady.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So we've been talking about the fruit of the Spirit, and we've gotten through the first 5 of those, and it's interesting when you think about the fruit of the Spirit. It has to be grounded in love.
Yep.
And then love brings about joy. Joy brings about peace, and that peace brings about patience, and that patience will produce kindness. And then from there, we have now where we're at today is on goodness. So when you think of kindness and goodness, do you see a difference between the two?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's kind of the same difference as joy and happiness.
Okay.
I think those two get mixed up a lot. I think happiness brings joy. I think if you're happy, you pursue joy. In the same sense, like if your kindness, if you're kind, if you are deliberately kind to people, I think that pursues gladness,
okay,
right? Or that of being glad. A kind person also gives off that kind of glad energy, but they do go hand in hand together.
Okay. So, yeah, kindness would probably, if you could look at kindness and goodness is the action, and kindness is the display of that action, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So I would probably, if we could put it into a photograph, that the photograph would be, the frame of it would be goodness, and then the photograph would be kindness, because that's what's being displayed in those actions.
Yeah.
Would you think of it that way?
Yeah, for sure. And then
Okay.
like that again, like from, because again, like kindness is that action, and what that action brings, it's gladness in a sense. So, yeah.
So, yeah, because it's interesting, Paul said there in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 10, that we were created in Christ Jesus for good works, which he has prepared beforehand for us. So it's like, okay, God says, all right, Gene and Grady, here are the works, and these are good for people. Now go do them, okay? And then Paul says here in this letter, just not far from the fruit of the Spirit, where he says we should have opportunity. As we have opportunity, let us do good to those, especially belonging to the household of God. So, and I thought that was an interesting statement, that we get busy with doing good in the community, but we forget about our brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
So, okay, so goodness. How would you share this with your youth group in a lesson?
I don't know. I think, I don't know, you always kind of hear the phrase of be good. And so like, in terms of a series, I don't know, I think, being the good. So I think of, what is it? 1 Timothy 4 verse 12, right?
Okay.
Be the good and be the good and good in contact. Be the good in conduct, being the good, and although you're young, you can be the good.
Okay.
I think that verse would be Let me look that up real quick. Would be where I would go with that, and so it's all a matter of where your heart is, and so I think when you're talking to not just teenagers but anyone, but whenever you're if we're going right down the fruit, whenever you're exuding that kindness, like you're again being the good. So I don't know. What do you think about that phrase, being the good?
Well, it's interesting that you brought up be good, because I was thinking about that yesterday as we were coming into this podcast, that I don't know how many times I've told my kids as they were leaving the house, be good, Well, do they truly understand what that means? Be good. Maybe it should be turned around and saying, now go do good. And because that's going to be to the benefit of others. But so did you find your verse?
Yeah, I found my verse, and it in the ESV it specifically says being an example. And so how I'm taking this is and the reason I say how I'm taking this is because for junior session, the camp session that we're going to go to the second week in July, we were tasked to prepare a class for the week, and mine is being the good, and I'm specifically focusing on this verse. It's 1 Timothy 4, verse 12. First Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. It says, "Let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech and conduct and love and faith and in purity." And so, how can we be the good in speech? How can we be the good in conduct? How can we be the love and faith? How can we be the love and faith? How can we be the good in purity? So that's just kind of where my mind immediately goes in terms of goodness. And again, I think with goodness, it just it coincides with that of being an example. And so when you're going to be example, I think you want to look to someone who is portraying that good.
Yeah. Because everything that God's Word teaches us in regards to good works or the fruit of the Spirit of goodness in conduct and in speech, set that example. It's got to be what Paul told the Philippians: do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to your own interest, but also to the interest of others. So if we truly are Christ followers, we're going to be looking out for one another in such a way that we want to benefit them instead of benefiting me.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's what goodness will end up doing if we do it with the right heart.
Yeah.
I can go do good things, right?
Yeah.
But have a wrong attitude about it. But like I've said throughout this podcast, you can't have one fruit without the others. It begins rooted in love, and then that love will bring about joy, peace, patience, and kindness. You cannot show kindness and goodness if you're not a patient person. And if the Spirit's not working in you, you'll never have that patience to where you can show that goodness and kindness.
Yeah, for sure. And I think goodness and again, kindness as well, it all depends on where our intentions lie.
Right.
And so that's what we need to ask ourselves, and like where are your intentions? Like what is on what's on your heart? What's going through your head as you go through and you do these acts of service or acts of good? Or is it coming out of a place of love?
Right.
From the beginning, or is it coming out of a place of kindness, or are you just kind of doing it community service, right? So
I'm just thinking of you and your daughter. I mean, she's now going on 11 months old, almost.
Here in a few weeks, yeah.
And, pretty soon she's going to start being able to understand you by when you're teaching them about being good. And it all begins with the heart.
Yeah, for sure.
If our heart's not with God, then there's no way we can show this goodness or kindness.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
I pray for all of our viewers that your heart is right with God.
Yeah.
You're building that intimate relationship with Him through Christ, through His Word, through prayer, and asking Him to fill you up with His Spirit, because that's where it all comes from. It can't come on our own, because man, we'd mess it up big time.
Yeah. And just like teaching, Ren the art or the act of being good and the scriptural side of that, or just the human aspect of being good, it also comes from like what I'm teaching her, right?
Yeah.
And so like as we go in to have those conversations, like I have to be patient in a sense and know that again she's learning, but she's going to learn the goodness that I portray. She's
Right.
going to learn the goodness
Yep.
and kindness that Hannah and myself and the people around her who are teaching her. She's going to eventually adapt to that,
Yep.
right? And so, like right now, we're teaching her kind of no because she's got
Yes.
teeth,
Yeah.
and she likes to.
Bite.
Bite. She's not like a biter, but she
Right.
will bite. But what's funny is we'll go no, and she'll just grin that big old 4-tooth grin at us. And again, like we're just going to do everything we can to teach her, but more than anything, just be that example,
Right.
In our goodness, be that example in our kindness, and in the exact same way, like we're children of God, and we learn from Him. If we're taking that goodness and kindness from God, then we can show that to our kids, and hopefully, so on and so forth.
And that's, I'd like to bring up this point from last night's study that we did in our auditorium class about Jesus being the author and perfecter of our faith. Author means originator. Mm-hmm. So Jesus was the who set the path for us in regards to being faithful towards God. Mm-hmm. And He showed that faithfulness and how He treated those who were unliked and who were not cared for. Mm-hmm. And so as you said that you and Hannah needed to be the example, how you treat one another is the best example for her to grow up to be that person. And so, viewers, look to Christ. Yes, He is the pioneer. He's the author, however you want to, founder of our faith. Follow His example. The good that He showed, the good that He did, let's mimic that.
For sure.
And it starts at home. Viewers, if you're still living at home, it begins there before you bring it out into the public view, because it's going to look ugly if you're not training at home.
Yeah. So. And I mean, and it goes to, parents, it goes to friendships, it goes to workplaces, it goes to anything. It's easily identifiable, like even in the youth group. Like if we're at a retreat or at camp or on a mission trip, if I have that high energy, if I have that passion, if I pursue the example of goodness that comes from God, then hopefully those kids will follow. I mean, it's little things like last night we went and cleaned up the volleyball court and pulled weeds and stuff like that. So myself and Jesse and a couple more of the adults were out there pulling the weeds, and so whenever we were out there pulling the weeds, all the kids got down there and did it as well. Whenever we stood up and kind of slacked and started pointing fingers, that's when the kids kind of popped up and started doing it as well. Lead by example.
Exactly.
And be the example in goodness. And so, from that pursuits all things.
So I'm going to close with my go-to phrase. There are a lot of good people in this world. If you can't find one, be one. And I know that if you're growing in God's love by building that relationship with Him through Jesus, you're not going to go wrong. You may stumble, but it won't fail you. That relationship will never fail you. It'll keep you for all eternity. So I say God bless and go do good works as He has set before us. So long from Gene.
See you later from Grady.
Have a good week. We'll see you next week.